Today I'm going to talk about a Canadian novel, really good actually, by Monica Heisey. Now, although this is Monica Heisey's first novel, she's been published in numerous newspapers and magazines, and she's also written for several television series, the most popular probably being Schitt's Creek. And she's a comedian as well as an author, which really helps her humor content. On first glance, you might think this book is purely about millennial angst and sexual relationships, but I was pleasantly surprised. There's some good life lessons and reminders in here if we read it to the end. The title really drew me in. So if we're honest, how many of us have responded to the question, "Hey, how's it going?" with "fine" or "really good actually," when in reality our life was in shambles? This is a situation Maggie finds herself in after she and her husband agree to terminate their relationship after only 608 days of marriage and about 8 years of partnership before that. And even though the termination was mutual, Maggie's feeling all the feels of grief, especially when her husband takes many of their belongings and their pet cat, Janet. And she's even more upset by the fact that she's not yet 30, which is far too young to be married and divorced in her view. Maggie lives in Toronto, and she's surrounded by a cast of friends who pretty much cover all the personality types and demographics. She has a good career that she really doesn't appreciate, and she's looking for love in all the wrong places. She tries every newest thing out there, such as every type of self-help technique, endless involvement in social media, dating apps, spending on frivolous items, hobbies, yoga, sports, fitness, beauty enhancements, art, all in an effort to keep herself busy and to make herself feel better. At some level, she recognizes that this isn't really helpful, but she fails to recognize the extent of her self-destructiveness. Here's the way I see it. Yes, this book is a great satire about millennial angst and rage and poor decisions, but it's also a good portrayal and reminder of the management of grief and loss of any type, whether it's a relationship, a career, a death, a friendship. It's so easy to try to run away into busyness or fantasy or excessive humor. One of my favorite characters is Maris, who is Maggie's supervisor at the university where Maggie is a teacher and a research assistant. And Maris is older and been around the block, so to speak, and she's got some really wise words about how to live with grief and putting one foot in front of the other. And Maggie's friends serve as a really good reflection to her of just how destructive she's becoming, and a little bit of tough love comes into play. Yes, the majority of this book is about Maggie's misjudgment before she comes to some understanding of her life. But I think that's the lesson of the book. Grief is a process, and it can get pretty muddy before we start figuring out how to live with ourselves. So even if this book might appeal to the 30-year-old reader, there are some good reminders for all of us. And the book's a really easy read. And be warned, there is lots of sexual relationships and swears that might not be for you. Personally, I love the humor and the satire, especially the depiction of all the activities that Maggie tries to involve herself in, which she admits are an activities frenzy, transparent efforts in void avoidance. I think the author might be a little wise beyond her years and definitely knows of what she writes. Really good, actually, by Monica Heisey.